In a year, we got Frieren, a storytelling masterpiece. This is what won Anime of the Year. How? Even the guy presenting the award doesn't look convinced. What's this show even about? Isn't it just aura farming? Yes it is. Watching Solo Leveling was strange. I quickly noticed one episode turned into five turned into a weekend, and at some point in between the glowing eyes and Jin-Woo adding a random demon girl to his list of willing bachelorettes, I completely stopped watching for critique and started watching just for the vibes. I was no longer analyzing, I was just chilling. And that's when it really started to click why this show's gotten so surprisingly popular. I bet most people who got into anime and manga when they were younger had similar experiences. As it turns out, prioritizing learning critical Japanese vocabulary such as and most importantly, doesn't exactly lead to climbing up the social hierarchy. Landing somewhere between vegans and the guy at every party who'll pick up a guitar and try and play Wonderwall even though nobody gives a shit. Anime fans have long been a figurative and sometimes literal social punching bag. But then we grow up, and what do we get? A fun little housing crisis, a job market built like a gacha game, and a political discourse that resembles some boomer arguing with Siri about how Bluetooth works.
I'm gonna come.
It's no surprise that so many of us are attracted to a story where someone is actually able to have some damned power and control over their lives. A show where someone weak and pathetic can arise is kind of a no-brainer success. This is why the power fantasy genre has become so stupidly, desperately, fantastically popular. Power fantasy anime has become a sort of comfort food for modern viewers. It's a cathartic release. When life feels like a slow burn political drama hyper tragedy, power fantasy anime gives us, well, power. And no show has been able to capture the true spirit of power fantasy ecstasy more intensely, more unapologetically, or with more over-the-top, particle effect loving, pure vibes than Solo Leveling. Sure, 14-year-old me may or may not have fantasized about being trapped in SAO, picking up 2 swords, becoming a pseudo-demigod, and so no. Solo Leveling was by no means the first power fantasy. Hell, it's probably the 1000th clone of the genre, but with such a thin line between what makes for a good and not so good power fantasy, Solo Leveling smashed everything to pieces and said, fuck all of you, I'm him. And honestly, maybe that hyper egotistical attitude is exactly why it won Anime of the Year. Maybe he is him. As much of a Frieren fanatic as I am, I have to admit that Solo Leveling suplexed me with so much aura that my coronary artery nearly burst and my little monkey brain went into a frenzied dopamine-driven overdrive as if I just pulled Ijeon. If only my zero polychrome FTP ass could be so lucky. It's good. Is it Anime of the Year good? I don't really know. But in the words of Jin-Woo,
Who cares?
see, it is disturbingly good enough that I don't really care either. By the way, if this video is hitting anywhere near as hard as Jin-Woo's punches, take a second to punch that like button, subscribe, and consider checking out the Patreon. Where power fantasy normally goes so wrong, Solo Leveling genuinely does so much right. On the surface, power fantasy anime are simple. You take a random loser, like me, throw them into a life or death situation, and make up some random BS that allows them to survive. Then all you gotta do is show the viewers how unreasonably powerful, badass, and hot they've suddenly become. But here's the thing, escapism isn't inherently a bad thing. It doesn't have to be about pretending to be someone else. It can be about feeling like you could be something more. When you work a dead-end job, when bills pile up, when you start to question if you'll ever make it big, escapism media starts becoming a sort of emotional lifeline. It's not about magically going from nothing to slaying dragons. It's about feeling like you could one day face your own metaphorical dragons. Hell, it can be sort of a beautiful thing. So why do so many power fantasies always end up feeling like a teenager's shallow, I'm 14 and this is deep Wattpad fanfic? It's because they miss a key narrative element. They don't earn or deserve it. The protagonist's sudden newfound godhood makes the show feel lifeless, shallow, and unbelievable. No effort, no challenge, no shortcomings. But Jin-Woo? Jin-Woo earns his sex appeal. In the beginning, little bro is a walking, talking L in human form, a borderline dungeon liability, and suffers massively for his weakness. He even dies for it brutally, but he earns a chance. He earns a cheat. But even after all of that, he still has to work for his strength. Unlike other protagonists, Jin-Woo has to constantly put his life on the line if he wants to aura farm. He's been given the opportunity to pursue power rather than just being given the power itself. He has to fight like hell to forge himself into the S rank he can become. And his punishment for slacking, it's not just a lost day, but literal hellish torture. Rest days don't exist. Recovery time doesn't exist. Sleeping in ain't an option. Jin-Woo has to wake up and consciously choose violence, because if he doesn't, the system will choose it for him. We see him earn all the power he attains. They don't simply appear out of nowhere. Every level has been paid for with blood and sweat. It's what causes our heart rates to spike when the OST drops, the shadows arise from behind him, and the aura fucking slaps us in the face. We watched the endeavor towards the summit. We saw the pain, the shortcomings, the sheer teeth gritting effort. Ascending to S rank and above doesn't feel cheap. It feels like justice. It's not obnoxious plot armor. It's the story saying, this man deserves a fucking throne. And honestly, seeing him sit on it has been some of the most unreasonably adrenalating and enjoyable anime experiences I've had in years. Solo Leveling is bizarre, to say the least. So extra, so intense, so inexplicably Giga Chad that it somehow manages to loop all the way back around to being borderline genius storytelling. No, this isn't a story that will have you asking big philosophical questions like, what does it mean to be human? Nor is it going to have you come out the end with any massive life-changing revelation. The most you're probably gonna get is a deep desire to hit the gym for those Jin-Woo abs. The plot?
Who cares?
Political intrigue?
Who cares?
World building?
Who cares?
The waifus?
Good.
Now, to be honest, the plot, politics, and world building are genuinely intriguing. Even at the end of the second season, there are so many unanswered questions that I do actually care to know the answer to. But let's also be real AF. That's not why any of us are here. It's not why it won Anime of the Year. All that really matters is the raw spectacle that is Jin-Woo. And the animators know it. They know exactly what we're here for, and they manage to lean into it brilliantly. Solo Leveling doesn't just look good in the way most anime do. No, the animation is pure digital testosterone. Every sword swing isn't just fast, it's a windstorm, a chorus of death with a sonic boom that registers on the Richter scale. Jin-Woo doesn't unalive his enemies, he eviscerates them. He completely deletes them from existence, from memory, from the My Anime List character page. Some anime are lucky if they can even have one scene per season that looks as good as the average Solo Leveling fight. But Solo Leveling said, couldn't be me, and made every episode a cinematic masterpiece. The FX alone has more narrative weight than the entire cast of Rent-a-Girlfriend. And the OST, oh boy, the OST.
I'm about to nut.
Jin-Woo is bearing the light, ascending into the darkness, breaking the limit, and probably getting a Red Bull sponsorship somewhere along the way. It's the kind of soundtrack that makes you want to write an overly edgy, tragic backstory for your D&D character. And can we talk about the voice acting for a second? Because holy hell.
I'm gonna nut.
Alex Lee, the English voice of Jin-Woo, undeniably crushed every second of it. From the early yelps of fear to full-on aura-soaked war cries, his performance was immaculate. You feel every bit of Jin-Woo's effort through the lines of dialogue. His rage, his transformation, his confidence. Genuinely one of the best VAs out there right now. Maybe a little overutilized, but he inarguably earned his award. Everything comes together in a beautiful harmony of dopamine-flooded cinematic beauty. Sure, Solo Leveling is kind of predictable. It's kind of cheesy, but it's absolutely glorious. As much as I normally love to see it, there's no filler, no random beach episodes, and no pointless arcs. There's just enough plot to keep the big wheel on turning, and then boom, another dungeon, another boss, another moment that lets you feel the power. But here's the thing, as much as we meme about the spectacle, the aura, the Giga Chad energy that's so intense it could collapse a lung, there is some hidden depth. We all know what it's like to be stepped on, and I don't mean in the good way.
Please step on me!
Jin-Woo isn't just cool because he wins. He's cool because we saw him lose over and over and over. And when he finally starts winning, we win with him. We get a taste of the success and power he is able to attain. We finally get a sense of control over our lives that so often feels missing. And that hits deep, especially for people who've ever felt stuck in a dead-end job and a degree you're not even sure you want to pursue, or falling apart relationship. Hell, maybe in your own damn head. And sure, we don't have magical systems handing us quests, but that's the thing. We always want to have that hope, that dream, that we're just one opportunity away from being something more, being something better. And that's why when Jin-Woo walks into that boss room, eyes glowing, shadows rising behind him, music blaring, we don't just feel hype, we feel a little hope. We want to believe that if we just try hard enough, push long enough, suffer deep enough, we'll eventually get where we want to go. We have the desire to change our lives for the better, to stop feeling like an NPC in our own damn story. That's why solo leveling is different. It's not just blatant wish fulfillment, it's wish recognition. Jin-Woo doesn't just beat bosses, he defeats his former self. And sometimes we need a reminder that growth is real, that pain has a purpose, and that power doesn't come from skipping to the end, but from walking through every ugly, awkward, humiliating chapter until you finally earned the next one. That's what hits the hardest. The quiet, relentless, soul-deep commitment to becoming more than what the world expected from him. So no, solo leveling probably didn't deserve Anime of the Year over the masterpiece that was Frieren. And it most certainly didn't deserve half of the awards given out, but it most certainly did earn a place in my and many others' hearts as one hell of a fun anime. Call it aura farming, call it edgy, call it over the top cringeworthy power fantasy, call it whatever you want, but solo leveling knows exactly what it is, and it absolutely nails that. And if that doesn't deserve a little crown of its own, then I don't know what does.